how Apple Vision Pro's wider availability will affect TV viewing, and what's on Apple TV Plus anyway. This is TV Plus Talk on MacVoices.
Hello, welcome to TV Plus Talk, where me, Charlotte Henry, and my friend Chuck Joyner discuss all things Apple TV Plus. Chuck, you wouldn't know it from looking outside my very wet window, but it is actually July. We're more than halfway through 2024.
If you looked out my window, Charlotte, there's no question it's July because everything is wilting from the heat.
There's no need to show off.
Listen, I would happily take a wet look out my window as opposed to the blazing
you
sun.
Wouldn't. No.
Yeah.
You wouldn't. Right. Well, we're swapping then. I'll get my flight over. Well, you and I, as we usually do, tend to look at the shows upcoming on Apple TV Plus, and we looked at the list for the kind of the next quarter, really, didn't we? And there was a hell of a lot of stuff. We'll come to that in a minute because I have a couple of other things I want to discuss with you first. Firstly, the Apple Vision Pro lands in the UK on Friday. We're recording this on the 9th of July. It lands on the 12th. And that's when it's going to be in Apple stores. So do you remember when it was first released and you tested it out and you said, Charlotte, even if you don't want one, you have to go to the Apple store and have a test and just do a fitting and just check it out.
Yep, and I stand by
that.
I
think I'll do that, and we can do a show and I'll tell people what I think about watching TV on it. Because I am intrigued. There's no way I'm going to spend $3,500 on it, but I am fascinated by it. I really want to have a go.
She says she won't spend $3,500 now. Wait till she tries it.
Well, have you? Have you got one?
No, but I don't watch that much TV. So, but still, at the very least, I would encourage anyone who is in the UK, once it lands, go and check it out, even if you have no intention, because what you're doing is you're getting a glimpse into the future. Might not be in your wheelhouse yet, but it will be at some point. So trust me.
You really think that?
I really do. I really do. I don't know if it'll necessarily be the form factor, but I really do believe that the spatial computing has the potential to become super important. I think right now it's sort of like, maybe this is a terrible example, but I'll do it anyway. It's sort of like the web. Back when the web was young and new, you kind of bounced around a few places. You had no idea what it would turn into. I mean, look what we're doing. Would we have ever dreamed that we'd be doing something like this?
I mean, not to get emotional, but you and I are friends, having never been in the same country.
Exactly, we've never met, but we have a relationship. How do you do that without this?
Right. My question then is, you're saying it's, the form factor, maybe not the form factor, but it is the future. Is it the future of media consumption? Am I going to be watching all these new TV Plus shows on some kind of headset, some kind of spatial computer?
Now, that's a really interesting question. I think it depends on the kind of TV watcher you are. If you are one of those people who, the first category is going to be the people who have spent the money for the 80-inch TV screen and the 7.1 or 7.2 surround sound system and all. That's, they're looking for the very, very best experience. If you're one of those people that sits on, and has the TV on in the background, and that's what you call watching it while you are engaged in other activities, maybe not so much. But I think for those things that you are really into, that you really want to have the best experience, I think this has serious potential. And frankly, the price, we all know the price is going to come down. But if you have one of those home theater systems, you've probably spent close to, if not exceeded, that $3,500.
Oh, you can spend $3,500 plus on a home cinema system without even trying.
Yeah, exactly. So Again, I think it depends. But also the fact that the quality of the experience is going to be so much is so much more amazing, and will only get better as as Hollywood and all the TV productions get more involved in how to produce it for this particular device. I think again we've seen great tech die. I don't think this will. I really don't. I think it's just going to be at what level do you want to slip on a headset or a pair of glasses or whatever it ends up becoming to have this experience. But now,
tell the Google glasses that as you're describing all this, I can imagine that sitting down to a beautifully produced Apple TV Plus show, and you and I have spoken so many times about how good the production quality of these shows is, and I can see on this system it will look stunning. I bet when I go for that test, they show me an Apple TV Plus trailer or whatever, and I bet it looks absolutely stunning. But it's a very solitary experience, and I'm thinking about having friends over, as I did last weekend, to watch the England game in the Euros, and that's a very social experience. You're not going to have that with these headsets, and a lot of media consumption is a social experience.
I agree, and that's one of the challenges that is here until the price comes down. But eventually, would it be out of bounds for you to say that you invite your friends over in 3 years and have everybody bring their devices and connect them to your Wi-Fi or whatever is needed to do so that you can all watch that sporting event or that amazing episode of Slow Horses or, whatever else. That's, I think that's going to be one of the evolutions here that we have to look at. But on the other hand,
I mean, it's a fascinating thought, isn't it? No, I'm just, as you're describing it, I'm thinking it's fascinating. And of course, what else could happen is you and I could sit and watch the same show on different continents at the same time with those headsets on.
Or we don't even have to be on different continents. Maybe you have a gathering in a virtual space to watch and comment without anybody having to come over and spill guacamole on your carpet.
Listen, I have very neat and tidy friends. I don't know. It kind of makes me feel sad, but I know what you're getting at. I totally know what you're getting at. Anyway, talking of social experiences, my friend Chuck Joyner is going to be very busy the next few days because he's heading to MacStock. If you've been on MacVoices YouTube channel, which you may well be watching this show on or listen to the podcast, you will know that all about Chuck's journey to MacStock. You looking forward to it? I've never been. You looking forward to it?
Absolutely. It's a weekend of just total immersion in Apple technology and technology in general with some really great people and some great friends for me. It is such a welcoming environment. We've been, I'm afraid people are going to get tired of this, but it's really is true. As soon as you walk in the door, if you came tomorrow, Charlotte, and didn't know anybody, you're going to have friends in a minute and a half, 2 minutes, because everybody is there for the same thing. You all have this common touchstone of your appreciation for Apple tech. And so there are really no strangers. There are only friends you haven't met yet.
Well, I'm going to get on I'll book a flight to Chicago then. I'll see you there.
Definitely. I'll pick you up at the airport.
See you then. Tell me, I know you're talking about Apple technology, and we all kind of know what that means. It means the Mac, it means the iPad, it means the iPhone. Is the media side of Apple becoming an increasingly important part of the discussions at places like MacStock?
I'll have to let you know. I
would be really interested.
Yeah, that it's an interesting point. I'm sure it will be part of the discussions. There's an Apple Vision Pro informal get together on Saturday night that's scheduled. I'm sure that some of the media consumption will become involved there. Beyond that, I'm just trying to think of the sessions for the speakers I've talked to. I'm sure there's some that would address potentially, maybe indirectly, but I'm not sure there's anybody specifically focusing on it. Because in some ways, and I'm absolutely not putting Apple TV down, but it'll be in some ways sort of talking like, well, what about, how do you listen to Apple Music? I mean, it's media delivery.
Well, the difference is Apple isn't producing music; it's producing radio with Apple Music One, but it's not producing original music in the way it is producing original shows and movies.
Good point. Which also means it has more control over what is being delivered.
Always. This is Apple we're talking about. Control is the name of the game.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I'm going to have a ball, and I would definitely encourage anyone. By now, it's probably a little late by the time this gets out. But on the other hand, the planes are flying, the trains are running. You can probably still get to Macstock if you really want to.
Okay, well, I'm off to look at the British Airways website or something, and I'll see you there. Cool. And I will have, I'd have a lot to watch on Apple TV Plus if I was sitting on a plane for however many hours. Because goodness me, you and I were going through this release list for the next quarter. It's a lot of stuff, Chuck.
And Charlotte, in looking at some of these things, I've only heard about a couple of them ttangentially. Some I haven't heard of at all.
And you and I probably pay more attention than most people.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before, the discovery challenge of this kind of content. On the other hand, I think all the streaming services may have this challenge. Some of them may throw a little more money at it from an advertising perspective, but on the other hand, I've seen ads for slow horses. I'm just sitting here looking at the things that are going through that are here. In fact, just this morning, even though it's coming to theaters in July, Fly Me to the Moon, Scarlett Johansson was on one of the morning shows to promote this.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, because Fly Me to the Moon was one I was thinking of, because you have two enormous stars in this. It's a movie. It's Scarlett Johansson and Channing Tatum. Nick Dillenberg and Anna Garcia are also in it. It's a huge show, and I have a huge film. Until we were going through it, it wasn't one I'm aware of. It's kind of a comedy drama, as you say, in theatres July the 12th. So I'm interested that she was doing the kind of morning show round. But it seems to be a huge thing that's relatively under-promoted, no?
On the other hand, Charlotte, how in the world of content today, how do you promote things when you have Paramount, Netflix, Amazon, Apple TV Plus, all these places releasing not only legacy content but also original content at a crazy rate, and then you have some of the smaller houses who put their things on those services and nobody can afford to promote them, but yet they're there. So if you happen to stumble across them, or if something catches wind and goes viral, and you think, oh wow, that's great, I hadn't heard about that. So it is a challenge for everyone. And I think you're right. You and I pay a little more attention to Apple TV Plus just because of what we do here. But I could almost say the same thing about some of the things on Amazon. The only way I discover things on Amazon is because they insist on throwing it up in my face if I log onto the website.
To a point, I think I'm thinking of like walking around London, right? And I see massive buses with massive adverts. I saw for Paramount Plus Special Ops Lionesses. I think I saw Reacher. I don't see that same level with Apple. And I feel like, never mind that conventional advertising, I feel like if you're Apple, you can do a better job of telling them you have a new movie. You have a new movie with Scarlett Johansson and Channing Tatum in it. Like, that's a huge stars.
Well, so maybe devil's advocate, maybe they are producing it, or maybe they are spending their money. They're just spending it in a different place to get placements like on the morning shows, and not the Apple TV Plus, the morning shows here in the U.S. I haven't seen any information on how much budget is being spent. And you would think that with this, but on the other hand, how many of these things are drawing people into Apple TV Plus and keeping them there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the other interesting thing about this is that it's going to theaters first, not to TV Plus first.
The Fly Me to the Moon is, yeah. Yeah, so
which is again a bit of a shift from what we've had from Apple. They've done it a bit. If for no other reason, you basically have to be in theaters for a certain amount of time to be eligible for awards, notably the Oscars. So that is obviously part of it. I don't know if this is going to be an Oscar movie, but as a general rule, for example, Coda was in theaters and they won the Oscar for that. So that is obviously part of the strategy, that you have to be in theaters. They're not, the Academy and so on have really stamped down on things that are just streaming service only. But that is still interesting from Apple, that we always think of them as being very proprietary, right? This is our movie. You have to have Apple stuff, including an Apple app and subscription to watch it. Giving it to a theatre where the experience is out of Apple's control is a shift.
It is. There's no question it's a shift, but we're back to the discussion of Apple always plays the long game. So is this part of their long-term strategy to put only certain things in the theaters to get nominated or to win those awards and therefore get all kind of attention to what they're doing? I mean, look, let's face it, as much as I do love Slow Horses, I'm not sure that it's going to win. Well, it doesn't belong in a theater. It's just not.
No, when it's a TV series, it's a different thing.
Right. So, I guess I'm not enough of a Hollywood guy to have the experience to know just how you would go about this, but somebody is thinking about the long game. And
yeah, sure.
Think about when we started, Charlotte, how we said, well, there are one or two things that I'll tune into Apple TV Plus, or I'll subscribe to Apple TV Plus for, and then, well, now I don't have anything else. Well, we are way beyond that now, because now we have content coming out at a ridiculous rate. We also are starting, at least in my humble opinion, we're getting into that spot where there are TV shows that, you know what, I don't have anything else to do. I'd like to go back and watch again because I had such a positive experience. So we're starting to see.
I understand the point you're making.
Yeah, they're starting to develop a back catalog that is desirable. And
that I agree with you. Even if I don't rewatch it back, there might be shows going, I missed it at the time, I want to watch it again. 100%. Exactly. We'll come back to that, but I just want to deal with very big stars in films that are being released in theatres by Apple, and I didn't know about them yet. There's Wolf, which is an action comedy. It stars, George Clooney and Brad Pitt. That's, again, pretty big star. There's also Amy Ryan and Austin Abrams in it. So we're talking big stars.
Yeah.
That's coming out in September.
And in my mind, this just look, let's just face it. It helps validate. We just said Scarlett Johansson. Now you're talking Brad Pitt. We're talking big stars who are working with or within Apple TV Plus productions, or those done for Apple, specifically for Apple TV Plus. So this to me says that that Apple TV Plus has arrived as a force in Hollywood. It's no longer begging for recognition. It's got the recognition. It's got the power to draw in the major stars.
Well, I think that happened. There's two reasons that happened. Okay, one is called a checkbook, and Apple's is considered bigger than most other people's, if basically everyone's. Two is if you win an Oscar, if you're the first streaming service to win the Best Picture Oscar, stars are going to take that seriously. They just have to, right?
Yeah. It's just a symbiotic relationship. You got to have the stars to win some of those things. You have to win some of those things to get the stars. So,
totally, that's totally right. There's a bunch of other stuff coming on. Talking famous stars, we've got Matt Damon and Casey Affleck in The Instigators. I'm not going to do the Matt Damon from Team America World Police voice, but he is in this. It's a kind of father and son ex-con thrown together. That seems like another action movie as well. It's rated R. It looks quite fun. I think that's going straight to TV Plus. And there's a bunch of... Look at this. Actually, I have a question for you. Do you think TV Plus's future is in movies or series? I'm putting you on the spot a bit, I know.
Oh, I think the answer is yes. I think it has to do both. Okay. I mean, I don't see it as a movie house because of the intense budgets that, you know, and I mean, that's like hunting elephants. You know, if you get one, it's great, but if you don't, then you starve for months. So I feel like, you know, the TV stuff is there to keep the subscription going and to keep the attention, and then, you know, you throw out a big punch every so often and take a shot at it. And look, sometimes it doesn't work. That's, you know, that's fine. That's the nature of
sure.
filmmaking.
No, but you understand what I'm asking is, does Tim Cook want us to think of Apple TV Plus as a place for movies or a place for TV shows?
I think he wants us to think of it as a place for great. Well, he wants us to watch it, but go back to the original introduction. He wants to have it thought of as a place for great stories.
Yeah. Bad Monkey, I should say. That's coming.
Yeah, it's my turn. It's my turn, Charlotte. Do you think it's a place for great stories at this point?
Oh, you're going to flip it back on me, are you?
Yeah, that's only fair.
I think they like the glamour of Hollywood, actually. I think, look, they're very happy to have great TV series. They're very happy for you to think about anything from Ted Lasso to The Morning Show to whatever. Presumed Innocent is out. Neither of us have had a chance to sit down and watch that, but Presumed Innocent looks like it's doing well. So yeah, and there's, as we said, Slow Horses as well. So it obviously wants those big HBO style seasons, must-watch series, right? Clearly that is what it wants. But there is a credibility, rightly or wrongly, that I think comes with the Hollywood hits that I think that rather appeals to Apple.
Okay. That's fair. I don't see the two as necessarily mutually exclusive.
No, and I don't think they need to be. But I think if you ask them, would you rather win an Oscar or an Emmy, they would probably say an Oscar.
Okay, I would agree with that. But they're not going to turn down an Emmy.
No, absolutely not. They were thrilled. When all the Ted Lasso and all of those picked up those awards, they were thrilled about it. I remember writing about it a lot. And we should say, we've mentioned it a few times, but September the 4th is when the latest season of Slow Horses will be coming out, which is really nice because September the 5th is my birthday. So they are effectively giving me a new Slow Horses for my birthday, which I think is just very, very considerate of them all.
We will start.
You and I were both, we wanted to watch Presumed Innocent. Interestingly, this is one of the shows that Apple is releasing week by week. I've held off slightly because I'm going to binge it, I think. Because we're a few episodes in now, so I'm going to give it a bit of a binge watch. But it's been doing quite well, I think. Again, based on a novel. This is by the novel was by Scott Taro. It's executive produced by J.J. Abrams, the series.
Nice.
Apple quite likes these crimey, thrillery ones. They seem to do quite well in streaming, don't they?
Well, think about what has happened in podcasting. The true crime stuff seems to be amazingly popular. And so let's talk about NCIS and some of those shows that are just so formulaic, but people watch them.
Can I make a confession?
Uh-oh.
I love NCIS, by which I mean I really love NCIS Hawaii.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's all right. We all have our guilty pleasures.
That's exactly what it is. I've told you this before. I love dumb action shows.
Good. Great. Nothing wrong with
love
that.
It.
No.
I'm very pleased that Apple is tries to be quite highbrow. I am very pro lowbrow.
On that note, I want to mention something because we talked about this a little bit. If you go, as we recorded this, if you go to the Apple TV Plus press page, I'm not going to say the titles, but you see drama, thriller, action, comedy, drama, thriller, kids and family, drama, kids and family, drama, thriller, documentary, comedy, drama, kids and family. So, and there's one for animation, kids and family, another documentary, another drama. So and there's another comedy. They are not trying to just be one thing for all people. They and we've talked about how they have embraced the science fiction genre that, and seem to really do well with those too, not just in viewership, but also just the quality of the programming. It just feels like a really nice, no junk. It may not be, each one may not be for me, but there's no junk here.
Well, we don't know if there's no junk, but the point that you're making really is about diversity of content, which was always the thing TV Plus was criticized for. Not just the pure number, but okay, they did the few HBO style big dramas and the sci-fi. Okay. But what you have read out is as wide a range as Netflix. There's only one exception that Netflix does better than, certainly for Apple, basically everyone. And that's live stand-up comedy specials, which Apple hasn't touched. No one else really competes with Netflix on that. It's a huge thing with Netflix. But beyond that, you've listed out quite a long list of the wide range of content, whether it's movies, TV shows, whatever, animation. And there is some great animation on Apple TV Plus, and there's some great kids programming, family programming on TV Plus, because you have to do that to make it, worth lots of people buying it. And yeah, I'm really struck now by how wide TV Plus is casting its net, because I did think at one point it was only going to do the sort of prestige TV series, and it's not just doing that.
But it's also not doing the, I don't want to call out any shows, but it's not doing the really, really, really lowbrow stuff. And not picking on you for your NCIS love, but the things that really are just...
Oh, it's worse than NCIS, don't worry.
Yeah,
it's much worse than NCIS.
Well, exactly. It's not just the kind of filler content that, we have this new series. You just don't see those. Yes, they've canceled some series because, they didn't meet expectations, or at least Apple's expectations. But it still didn't mean that they were terrible series or terrible shows, so...
And even if they were, okay, not everything can be a hit. Like, it's fine. It's not... If it was going wrong consistently, that would be a problem. Having the odd season that doesn't work is not, it's not a huge problem. The only thing to that is that it is the middling content, for want of a better phrase, that does do really well on streaming services. So we shouldn't be so dismissive of it. And Apple kind of needs that kind of comfort food type show. But maybe it's just position itself differently.
Exactly. Because I feel like you get a better value for Apple TV Plus. The only thing you don't get is the same broad expanse of things. But if I narrow it down to just what am I paying for the quality of each show, that even just the ones that I'm interested in, and I have a long list of things that on Apple TV Plus that I want to watch. Frankly, it's probably as long as, if I break it down by service, it's as long as any other service that with shows that I want to watch. And that to me right there says that, it's worth the money for me to sit and say, okay, this month I'm going to subscribe to Apple TV Plus. If I'm one of those that is a subscription jumper, I'm going to sit down for a month. I'm going to watch Apple TV Plus shows, and it's not like I'm going to be stretching toward the end or feeling like, gee, I don't have anything else to watch.
No, I totally get that. And I think that's right now. And it's taken a few years to get there, but that is definitely true. I have to say, going through this, there's quite a lot I'm really excited to watch, whether it's getting back to Presumed Innocent, I quite like this idea of some of these movies that are coming up. They seem quite fun. That Bad Monkey series seems quite good. That's next month. That's in a month's time. It's coming out, and then obviously by September we'll be at Slow Horses again. So there is quite, my to watch list on TV Plus is getting quite extensive.
Yeah, and if you click on the little arrows at the bottom, there's just more and more and more that is listed there.
Oh, sure.
Again, go and check this out, folks. If you haven't, and I'm not saying subscribe, I'm saying go find the press page, find some of this stuff, and do a little research. I think you may find that it's an alternative to where you want to spend your entertainment dollar.
Yeah, I think that could well be that. Again, I always have to throw it in. Sport is always this thing. Interestingly, the Copa America is on at the moment. I mean, the USA had something of a disaster, but it has really built up. Like, the coverage in America, as I understand it, has done very well for Fox. And of course, it is Apple that owns the rights to the MLS. And I'll be very interested to see if the Copa America TV success plays into more people being interested in Apple's coverage of the MLS.
And it's one more area that we've talked about on previous shows. You've only started to touch on it here, is sports. And it's an area that Apple seems to be,
I hope listeners and viewers will go back and listen to, we've done very in-depth segments on Apple and sport, which I think is a fascinating subject, but maybe one for another day again. But I'm talking specifically about on the back of this summer of this competition, and, Messi and all of that in this competition. And, the US is and Canada in the semi-finals. But, the US dropped out, a bit earlier than they would have expected to. And it's been there's been some fallout. I'll be very interested to see if seeing some of those players in this competition on Fox will convert to people wanting to follow them via the MLS on Apple TV Plus.
Over here, we call it soccer. And so, but it seems to be increasingly popular. Mm-hmm. for kids to play at in high school and junior high school and lower. It seems to be more popular in colleges, and now it seems to be becoming more popular in the whatever mainstream means anymore. So
sure.
I think,
and of course, you've always led.
Yeah,
you guys have always led the way with women's football, women's soccer.
Yes, yeah. So Apple's well positioned to take advantage of that. What's the word I want? That those developing tastes.
Yeah, I think that's right. And as I always say, this was a decade-long deal. It totally emphasizes your point about Apple and the long game.
You just don't bet against Apple.
No. Well, we won't bet against them, but we will probably watch some Apple TV Plus in the meantime. We do I should say, you and I have some quite exciting things planned for this show. We love making it. We love the feedback we get. So we've got some stuff planned, our friends. So make sure you're subscribed to one or both of our YouTube channels, one or both of our podcast feeds. Frankly, you should be subscribed to it all because you don't want to miss out on stuff. Remind people, Chuck, where they can catch up with you if they're not on your feed at the moment.
Sure. You can find everything I do and links to everything at MacVoices.com. We have a lot of great things going. We've just talked to all the MacStock speakers that we referenced earlier. I, too, have a lot of plans as we move into the rest of the year, and I would love to have you join me. And on the social medias, pretty much all of them, I'm at Chuck Joyner. Charlotte, where can folks find you?
So head over to theedition.net for all my tech and media-related content. I'm at Charlotte A. Henry across social media as well. Well, good luck at MacStock, Chuck. I look forward to hearing about your talk. Maybe, I don't know if it'll be on YouTube, or maybe I'll be able to get to watch it back as well. I hope it all goes well, and we will talk about it when we see you all next time.
And by the way, next time, Charlotte will be telling us about her Apple Vision Pro experience. So make sure to mark your calendars for that.
Yes, I'll see you there. Maybe I'll be wearing one when we record.
I would love it.
Yeah. How funny. Well,
Thanks for watching.
I'll see you with my Apple Vision Pro then.
Yeah. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.